Alice Zook was the last to come out of the kitchen. She placed a steaming dish of brown gravy on the table, then nodded at her husband, who stepped forward. Bishop Zook cleared his throat, signaling everyone's attention. "Shall we bow our heads and ask the Lord's blessing over this wunderbar food the women have prepared?" Catherine closed her eyes. "I know you hold the future, Lord. I pray it's your will that Zach wants to include me in his future." The bell over the door jingled, and a gust of cold air sent a shiver down her spine. Boots stomped, muffling the tune the latecomer whistled as he entered. Catherine didn't have to open her eyes to know who it was. She recognized the man by his off-pitch tune. Elijah Graber. The latecomer blew into his fisted hands. His hat, coat, scarf, and pants below the knees were snow-covered. As Elijah stood at the entry, his gaze flitted across the room and stopped on Catherine. Sharpness seized her breath. After 6 years, why would he search her out in the crowd first? Years of wondering what it would feel like to see him again flooded her senses, and for the split second that their gazes connected, everyone else in the room disappeared. Rein it in. You feel nothing. Nothing. Catherine narrowed her eyes on the man. At least be respectful of others, Elijah, and bow your head. As if reading her thoughts, he dropped his hands to his side and lowered his head for the final seconds of the blessing. Once the bishop cleared his throat again, his way of signaling the end of the silent prayer, conversations and activity around the room resumed, except for Catherine, who was frozen in place. Elijah shivered, and snow fell from the brim of his straw hat. Removing the knitted scarf from around his neck exposed his big red ears, which contrasted with the pale purplish tinge on his lips. But what caught her off guard was his beard. She focused on the puddle that had formed from his stomping snow off his boots, a hazard that needed to be addressed immediately. As other members greeted Elijah, Catherine dashed into the kitchen, grabbed the mop from the utility closet, then returned to the dining room. Still standing at the front door, Elijah looked up from brushing snow off his pant legs as she approached. "He a cat?" He smiled as if there'd never been a moment of distance between them. Before she had the chance to return a formal greeting, Bishop Zook came up to Elijah and patted his shoulder. "It's good to see you again, Elijah." "Same here." The bishop glanced at Catherine a brief second, then continued. "I trust your trip to Posen went well?" "The roads were snowy, and for a while there was talk that Mackinac Bridge might close due to high winds, but we made it fine." "How long will you be staying?" This time it was Elijah who looked at her uncomfortably. "I'm, not sure." This was agonizing. She expected any conversation she might have with Elijah to be stilted, but she hadn't expected Bishop Zook to guard his words. Why didn't he just go ahead and ask Elijah about his wife and children? "Again, it's good to have you home. Hopefully we'll have a chance to talk more later." Bishop Zook motioned to the table of food. "Now, don't be a stranger. Jump in line and fill your plate while the food is hot." "Yeah, I'll be sure to join you shortly." Once the bishop left to rejoin some of the other married men, Catherine mopped up the trail of water he tracked across the floor. Elijah hadn't moved from the doorway when she went back to finish cleaning up the entrance area. Elijah lifted one snowy boot, then the other. "I made a mess, didn't I? Would you like me to mop it up?" "Nay, I'll get this." She motioned to the other married men filling their plates. "You should go eat. I'm sure a hot meal and a mug of coffee will warm you up." "That's nice of you to be concerned. I've been meaning all week to stop by your house and say hello." "All week?" Catherine harumphed. "It's a little late."